what's happening? Thanks for clicking. To answer the question first off, yes, you can definitely improve your aim within a week. I'm going to share with you what I did and what I found out. I decided to get better at Apex Legends. Now, this is a game I've been playing for some time now, for a few months, right? But I noticed that I kept missing shots. I didn't feel comfortable aiming. No, there's also a movement aspect with the game because there's some parkour elements in there. So I wasn't able to practice that. I decided to get better at aiming. To do this, I got an application called AimLabs. It's on Steam. It has like over 100 or more little mini games that you can play to practice your aim. You can practice your precision, you can improve your tracking, you can improve moving from target to target. There's a lot of different things that you can do to improve your aim. This game actually helps. I think it's worth it. If you're actually looking to get better at any FPS, get AimLabs. Or any other, I don't know about the other aiming games, but AimLabs really helps. I was surprised how much better I was at aiming and how much more comfortable I felt in like team fights or in gunfight. And that was just a week. I plan to keep doing this, right? But I want to cut it down. I decided to do some research before I started doing this, right? Because I've been using AimLabs on and off, but I wanted to get actual training regimen. So what I did was I went to Reddit and I found a post, and this post explained a training regimen used by a pro player. Pro is hot and cold. He does have a Twitter account, I believe, Dark0GG, so you can check him out there. I didn't really care about any of that stuff. I'm just sharing all the information that I have with you so you know what I actually did. He actually has a training regimen that he does every day, or before every match. He runs his training regimen for 30 minutes every day. So I followed that. For 7 days, I ran his training regimen for 30 minutes or more. Now, in his training regimen, it consisted of 3 different subcategories: flicking, tracking, and speed. For flicking, you would have to do spider shot 5 times. For speed, you would do motion shot 5 times, and then micro shot 5 times. For tracking, you would do circle shot 5 times and circle track 5 times. So 2 different mini games. Now, it definitely is a grind, right? But in my research, I also found this other thing that was quite interesting. AimLabs actually has a blog, and they explained all of the different data points that they found out just by people playing the game. So most users actually played spider shot, grind shot, micro shot, free track, and circle track, right? For me, I was always playing grind shot, which I did see some improvement, but it was very minimal, right? Compared to what I just went through for the 7 weeks. Now, what I also found very interesting here is the percentage of users depending on the game settings that they choose. In AimLabs, you have the option to choose the settings to basically mirror the game that you're trying to learn to play better at. Now, you have the default AimLab settings, which is the large majority, followed by Rainbow Six Siege, followed by Apex Legends, CSGO, COD Modern Warfare, Overwatch, Fortnite, Destiny 2, PUBG, Escape from Tarkov, Paladins, Team Fortress 2, and the list goes on. But what was interesting to me is I was actually expecting Fortnite to be much further up, but the more competitive games that focus more on aim, they seem to be garnering more users that want to get better at it. There's something that I found out just while trying to do this. This information is quite interesting. I never knew that I would find this out just by running this small little test. So I decided to take notes on what happened every day. So on day 1, it felt very tiring. It was a slog. Even though it was just 30 minutes of training, it really felt boring. It wasn't fun. First day wasn't fun. It was a grind. But I think I got over that rather quickly. So day 2, I felt a lot better. It didn't feel as much of a slog. It didn't feel as boring. It just felt like something that I could just do in the background while listening to music or listening to a YouTube video. So I'd recommend doing that, like listen to a debate, listen to some music, listen to an audiobook, something like that to distract you from just how boring this shit is, because it is boring. But listening to something else really makes it more interesting. I noticed that I was adapting to the speed of circle track a lot better. So day 1, it was abysmal, it wasn't good at all. But circle track on day 2, I felt more comfortable, adapting to the movement of the targets. That's in circle track, there's a ball that's moving around and you just need to track it with the gun or the aim reticle. No, day 1, terrible. Day 2, felt more comfortable and it was very easy. But I was surprised at how fast I was able to adjust myself to the speed of the target I didn't expect that level of improvement in a day, right? So I guess running the same task multiple times or the same course multiple times really does help. So day 3 is when I was noticing certain issues with AimLabs. So with AimLabs, you do have spider track, and in spider track you have little targets that pop onto the screen and you need to shoot them. But here's the problem: the way you're holding the gun, it will actually prevent you from seeing certain targets. So I noticed that being an issue, and I had to adjust to that. Now, that doesn't happen all the time, but in some rounds it will happen more often than you expected, and it will cause you to, you know, miss shots. You won't even notice when it pops in and then it goes away and you get a second target, so you can lose points there. That can throw you off a bit. After a while you get used to it and you realize, okay, just move the gun from time to time to see if there's a target there that I'm missing. Also, hitting small targets was very difficult for me at this point. So you do get used to that over time, but I still have problems hitting those small targets now. But because of my consistent training, it doesn't feel as bad as it initially did. Day 4 is where I felt more comfortable hitting those small targets. However, I did notice that those small, fast-moving targets were really, really difficult. So that's something that you need to be aware of. Also, I noticed that I was getting some pain in my arm because I guess I was pulling the mouse up a bit too high off my desk. So I do recommend stretching before and after you do this. Like, if you're using a PC for a long period of time, get up, do some stretches. You know, you don't want carpal tunnel. That's I've never had it. I've had small pains in my arm. I don't want to get it in the future. Day 5 was, this might be a personal note, but I noticed while running the task, I would mentally check out and start thinking about things that I would do throughout my day, like doing the laundry, doing other chores, getting something done for work. I noticed that these thoughts would make me miss more and impede my performance in the tasks. So try and keep your focus as much as possible and don't get distracted. Now, day 6 is when I started to see my own issues, specifically with tracking. I was getting better with tracking, but not as fast as I would like. I felt like I wasn't performing as well in the tracking tasks as opposed to the other ones. So that was a weakness that I decided to work on. So I did a little bit more circle tracking. Just after the first 30 minutes, I decided to do some additional circle tracking to get better at that. So I think I got a little bit better there just by doing some more of those tracking tasks. By day 7, I felt very comfortable running it. It felt more like a habit now. And right now I'm trying to like optimize it by looking at different tasks to see what I could do better. I also noticed that circle track seems to be the best game or the best task to run if you want to improve your speed, improve your aim, and improve your tracking all in one. That seems to be the better one, but it's still better to isolate the different things that you want to improve, and that's the whole point of this whole trial for me. I'm at the point where I actually feel uncomfortable playing the game of Apex Legends before I actually run this warm-up. It's very weird. So I have to actually run some warm-ups before I play now. That's the only way I feel comfortable. So these are my personal conclusions after running AimLabs for 7 days straight. Was there an improvement? Definitely, yes, it was noticeable. I'm way more consistent in landing my shots now than I was before. Now, I do need to say this now, it doesn't help with decision making. That's still a problem. So I'll still die to people who have positioned themselves better in the game, as opposed to being like a professional that can outgun anybody in any scenario. That's not going to happen here. So I need to set your expectation. You are going to be better at aiming, but your game sense and decision making, you need to keep working on that by playing the game and getting more experience. It would have been nice to have evaluated how well you did certain things, like how good your speed was, how good your reaction time was, how good your tracking was, and how good your flicking was. It would have been very nice to have something like that to indicate to me what I can work on to improve and get better at the game. That would have been nice, so that way you have a starting point as to what you can improve. Because as a new person to this, I had no idea what I was really doing. So if you jump in without a workout plan like what I got here, you'll just be playing the game modes that you like, and that doesn't mean that you'll be improving. Because I was playing grid shot consistently before I started this. It did improve slightly. I would say it improved noticeably, but not enough compared to this that I was running. Another thing I noticed after doing this was I was able to land shots that I wasn't able to land before. Targets that were farther away, I could hit them more consistently now. Like, I still can hit them more consistently now. Before, it was really difficult for me to lock on to a far moving target. Way easier now. So those those small fast targets that I was having issues with in AimLab, it was actually a lot faster and more unpredictable than a human player. Surprisingly, I didn't expect that. Another problem I noticed with myself is that I tend to overshot. So, well, in AimLabs, right? If the target is right here, I tend to move my mouse way too far a bit. So that could be an issue with my mouse settings, or it could be just me moving too far. So I'm not sure how to fix that yet, but that's something I can improve on. There's always room for improvement. I'm just glad that I noticed it. Using the method of like listening to something that's pretty relaxing. So I noticed for me that listening to relaxing music actually helps a bit, as opposed to like rock music. That might be a preferential thing, and it depends on your mood too. It's kind of weird. I still haven't like figured that part out. So sometimes relaxing music helps. Rock can help me from time to time, but it does seem to break my focus, right? But relaxing, slow-paced music, that seems to help a lot more. This is weird. This is something I can't explain why. My aim with shotguns has gotten a bit worse. I'm not sure why that is. So burst weapons and automatic weapons, I can use those quite well. Or shotguns, I seem to have gotten worse. It's I can't explain that one. Now, after running this, I will say I'm interested to run this kind of test again. But I don't know, maybe I won't do it, but somebody else could do it, where you have two completely new players. Well, one person would run AimLabs and play a shooter. So well, you have an AimLabs training regimen, and then they would play a shooter after doing that. But then you have another person that only plays the shooter. They don't use AimLab. So I'm wondering what would be the difference in these people here? Obviously, I think the AimLabs person would be aiming better. But I'm wondering how much better the person who just plays the game would perform. I'm really interested in that. Because there's more to the game than just your aim. There's a lot of decisions that you need to make very quickly in order to perform better. And you're still aiming while playing the game. That would be pretty interesting for me. But definitely, if you want to improve your aim, run AimLabs. Try finding a training regimen online or a training routine online and just run it. I really think that would help a lot of players. For me though, I'm going to keep running this. I want to look at the other game modes that they have in AimLab to see which ones can actually help me a bit more. So hopefully this information helps you guys. Thanks for listening. Take care. I'm out.